Good morning again. My gosh, we got a crowd in here. You know, I heard Sean say, what'd you say that the quorum number was?
146 is all.
146 is what was required. Reckon we ought to start counting and see if we got 146? Times about 10, it looks like. Well, that's great. That's great. Before I get started, I forgot one thing. This is going to be the biggest mistake I've made all day, forgetting this, so I'm going to correct it. I forgot to introduce my wife. So, Becky, if you'll wave at everybody up there. There she is up there, my wife, Becky. So, I'm back in good graces. Where are you all from? You know, that question, as simple as it is, has probably opened up more discussions and started more friendships than any other. Because as the old saying goes, everybody's from somewhere. Even in here this morning, I see folks I know from down at Knoll, from the Fidelity area, from Wheaton, from Reeds, from Saginaw, down around Pineville, and on and on. Yes, we do live in many different places, but you know what? No matter how different those places are, we still have a whole lot in common. And today, especially today, one constant thing that unites us all is this. It doesn't matter which one of those places is your town. NUMAC Electric is your cooperative. You've heard me talk before about back in 1936 when President Roosevelt issued an executive order to create the REA, helping to provide electricity to rural America. Since then, for 70 plus years now, NUMAC Electric has been part of the foundation that's helped dozens of local communities develop and thrive. Communities just like your town. One of those towns is Diamond, here in Newton County, where George Washington Carver was born. As you know, Mr. Carver became famous for his research on crops and nutrition to improve the quality of rural life. Did you know, in fact, he developed over 100 recipes for the use of peanuts alone? Well, George Washington Carver once said, when you do the common things in life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world. And he was exactly right. We have gained the attention of the world. In fact, the United Nations has proclaimed 2012 as the International Year of the Cooperative. The UN even said that the cooperative business model is the single most successful concept ever for meeting basic human needs. Now think about it. Each and every day, almost everything we do is made possible because of power provided by your cooperative. In fact, just try to imagine a day in your town without electricity. Now, I want to go back 20 years ago. Back to 1992. You know, 20 years is a full generation. Kids that were born in 1992 are adults today. Now, do you remember what you were doing back in 1992? You remember where you worked? What kind of car were you driving? Better yet, what'd you pay for a gallon of gas 20 years ago? That's changed a lot. Well, there's something that hasn't changed much in that 20 years, and that's NUMAC's electric rates. Did you know that there have been only 2 general rate increases in the past 20 years? It's hard to imagine gasoline prices going up only 2 times in 20 years. That would be just inconceivable. But that's what we've been able to accomplish. Only twice. In 2008 and 2009, we had to raise our rates. Unfortunately, we were in a position where we didn't have a choice. We had to pass along increases from our power suppliers, Associated Electric in Springfield and Camo Power in Veneta, who raised the wholesale price of electricity that they sell to us. You may remember back several years ago when I talked to you about the perfect storm of having to pay higher costs for coal, cost to build new power plants, and the expense of meeting increasingly tougher environmental regulations. Actually, since 2009, NUMAC has been hit with even higher costs, but for those last 3 years, your cooperative held the line, didn't raise rates even as our costs increased. Instead, we tightened our belts, we worked harder, we worked smarter. Unfortunately, again in 2013, as I said before, we've been told that our wholesale cost to buy electricity will go up once again. And I have to tell you this time, we're not going to have a choice. We'll have to have a general rate increase to our members next year, most likely in January. Now remember, I said earlier that we've had a general rate increase only 2 times in those past 20 years. I want you to take a look on the screen at these federal government statistics. Look at how other basic costs of living, like bread, eggs, and gasoline, have doubled and even tripled in that same time frame. But the average cost of electricity has gone up only 26 cents on the dollar, or in other words, only a little more than $1 a year. We've always been totally open with you about our rates, and I promise to always keep you completely informed. As before, we'll give you more details about next year's rates in the co-op newsletter in January. Now, like we do every year, we've also provided you with a copy of the co-op financial report in your annual meeting material. I have to tell you, it's been a challenging financial year in 2012 for your cooperative, mainly because of the weather and the fact that that weather caused lower electric sales. Everybody remembers the past winter. It was warm. We like warm winters, unless we're in the business of selling electricity. The annual report for 2011, however, shows NewMac Electric had more than $35 million in total revenues. Operating margins were over $1.2 million, net margins just over $2.8 million. And our co-op assets now stand in excess of $94 million. Now, how about if we have some good news? The good news is, despite the challenging financial year, I'm pleased to announce that NewMac Electric will again pay back to you, our members, capital credit refunds. This year, we're paying back capital credits to you that total about $825,000. As a not-for-profit cooperative owned by members like you, the co-op can pay back capital credits, which is excess revenue left over from operating expenses. This year's payments represent 60% of the margins from 1995. This is now 15 straight years that we've paid you capital credits and or power cost adjustments. These payments, folks, have totaled over $17.5 million, or an average of over $1 million a year. Now, you know what, and this is really important for me, for you guys to understand this. Not every co-op pays back capital credits, but your co-op does. Again, this past year, our power suppliers generated electricity from a variety of different sources. Along with the traditional low-cost coal-fired plants in Missouri, Associated's new high-efficiency natural gas plant near Choteau, Oklahoma went online last year. And that heavy-duty 345 kV transmission line connecting the plant to our system in Jasper is about 60% finished too. Plus, as you've heard me talk before, Associated also receives electricity from 4 wind power farms in Missouri. Again, this past year, I was able to visit a few more wind farms, and I still just can't get over how big they are and how important they are to us as a renewable resource. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to use much of our lowest cost renewable resource, hydropower, due to the lack of rainfall. In fact, at one point this past summer, Table Rock Lake fell to as low as 81% of capacity. Last year at the same time, the lake was at 112% of capacity. Now, you'll probably be hearing more about another source of electric power generation, nuclear power. There's a new concept called small modular reactors, SMRs for short, which are smaller than a typical nuclear plant. And since they're smaller, SMRs are less expensive and much, much easier to build. Currently, there's a plan to build an SMR near Callaway in central Missouri. All the co-ops in the associated system, which NUMAC is one, plus the co-ops in Arkansas and about a dozen other utilities have joined together to lend support to the plan. Supported by Missouri Governor Jay Nixon, this group is asking the United States Department of Energy for a federal grant to help develop this project. Environmental protection continues to be a priority of our power suppliers. Since 1994, Associated has spent $1.1 billion, now that's billion dollars with a B, to meet environmental regulations at its power plants and has achieved a 90% reduction in those power plant emissions. The EPA continues to push for even more regulations on emissions. Even though Associated has always been on the leading edge in meeting environmental regulations, even more expensive changes may be required. This uncertainty makes it extremely difficult for us as we work to provide you with reliable electricity at the lowest possible cost. This past year, Mother Nature spared us from a lot of severe weather, at least up until last month. You may recall the day. It was September 7th. It was a Friday afternoon, and we were hit by a line of violent thunderstorms. In some areas, the high winds were actually hurricane strength. They knocked out transmission lines to 4 of our substations. They snapped several dozen poles, and they left about 5,000 of our customers without power. You know, Webster's Dictionary defines a cooperative as an organization owned by and operated for the benefit of those who use its services. Well, I can tell you this past year, your cooperative provided a lot of services. Some of the most important work we've done lately during the drought conditions has been for area cattlemen, building electric lines to new wells being drilled to pump water for their livestock. You may remember that last month, Governor Nixon came to our office to commend the co-op for the work that we had done. And we've still got more to do, more line to build to reach more of these wells. And we're proud to be able to work with the state to make this a high priority for our area cattlemen. This year, we also expect to spend over $1.7 million on trimming right-of-way. Our crews have worked very hard to clear brush along power lines out of Anderson, Spring City, and the Sims substations. They've also performed miles of right-of-way brush spraying in the Saratoga and the Sweetwater area. And there's still more. This past year, our operations crews have completed over 40 miles of three-phase line construction or conversions around Reeds, Sims, Neosho, Goodman, Wentworth, Spurgeon, Saratoga, Spring City, Walkerville, and Anderson. Many more miles of pole inspections and replacements in the Spring City and Diamond Grove areas. You probably heard your town mentioned in that list of the construction projects, and you heard right. It's your town. It's your cooperative. Now here's another big announcement that I'm really excited about. Starting on Monday, the day after tomorrow, you'll be able to start using a brand new online convenience to pay your bills, check your account, and monitor your energy use right from your home computer or your mobile device. You can go online from your computer or use your iPhone or your Android smartphone, and yes, we even have an app for that, and you can electronically pay your bill. You can also check your account and keep it updated or sign up for other billing services. You can review up to the past 2 years of your billing history. You can even check your weekly or your daily electric use. We've been able to accomplish a lot this year, and I think it's clear that your NUMAC employees deserve our appreciation. Will all of our employees stand? It's an honor to work with this great group of employees. Like NUMAC, there are about 900 electric co-ops around this great country, and employees at all of them follow a set of core values what we call the 7 cooperative principles. I've talked to you about them for many years in the past. They are voluntary and open membership to all customers, democratic control by you, the customer member, economic participation by each customer, autonomy and independence, providing education, training, and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and lastly, concern for the community. These 7 cooperative principles also help guide the decisions made by your NUMAC Electric Board of Directors. For their hard work and dedication, I think we also need to recognize your NUMAC Board of Directors. Once again, I'd like to say thanks for the great folks here at Crowder College who work very hard each and every year with us to make this day happen. Let's give them a round of applause. Most importantly, I want to thank you for coming to your annual meeting. You know, each year that I've had an opportunity to stand here, I've made a pledge to you, and I'll do it every time you let me stand before you. I pledge we're going to work hard each and every single day to continue to deliver the best possible electric service to you at the lowest possible cost. Folks, you're the reason that NUMAC Electric exists and why we are humbled by and grateful for the privilege of being part of life in your town. Your town, your cooperative. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a good day.